Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever it is for you. Did you know that you are 83% of the way through the 6 weeks of support? This is week 5, not just week 5 of the 6 weeks of support, but you are near the end of the entire course. For you to be here right now today is phenomenal. Most people that begin anything don't make it this far. You have gone through 21 learning modules and done a whole lot of work through each one of them. And you've made it to week 5 of the 6-week support period. You keep up this tenacity, this commitment to the work, and you will be an incredibly successful prospector. You will build the business that you want, and you will live the life that you want. Well done. But the work is not over. Of course, I have another 2 weeks with you, including this week. I'm not letting you go yet. All right, so what's happening in week 5, 83% through the 6-week support period? Well, you're drawing to a close, but that's a close of the program, of the time that you have with me. It's in its entirety. You are reaching the finality of the course and the support period, but you are not reaching the finality of the reason that you are here, which is to become a better prospector. This is an ongoing learning for life. As I said last week, you will reach a point where you may make an about turn and look at prospecting differently because you will wish to modify your business. Your needs will be different. For example, right now, you may be looking at acquiring more clients, but later you might look at scaling back the number of clients that you want. Either way, we as human beings, when reaching a goal, kind of take stock of where we are, and then we look upward and outward and go, okay, good. I hope you celebrate in that moment, but then you're looking at thinking, what's next? There's always the what's next question, and you will get there several times, even within this particular prospecting journey and whatever your goal is now. Weeks from now, you may look at these goals that you have, personal, business, activity, and you might revise them, hopefully upward, because I want you to be in action and I want you to pursue lofty goals that challenge you. If you're running an event, this is the week in which you deliver the event. You've had 4 weeks of preparation. So you've put in a lot of effort, a lot of time, you've done a lot of work. This is the week in which the event lands. I wish you all the best. You shouldn't be tying up any loose ends that should have been tied up. But if you still have a few days to go and there's anything that needs to be tweaked, from logistics to admin to tech to content, you need to rush to tie those loose ends up, because you probably don't have much time to go. Okay, good luck with that event. And by the way, once you come out of the event, once the event is done, you should be planning your next one. If having events is something that you want to do on a continual basis. Right now, you'd probably do an event and then you'd exit the event and be planning the next one. But over time, you'd probably be planning while you're delivering. You might have a number of events going one after the other, which means that you'll have delivery and planning overlapping each other all the time. So adopt that into your mindset, into your way of being around the planning and delivery of those events now. Okay, good. How are those numbers looking? Are you meeting them? Are you hitting the targets? Are you in action? Is your activity right up there? Specifically talking, because our challenge right now is around approaches and leading to first. The formula: approach, invite, connect leads to acquiring that first meeting. So how is that going for you? You're measuring the approaches in the first meetings. How's that ratio looking? How's the hit rate? Are you making the approaches and getting the first meetings? If not, what are you learning from that? What's working? What's not? What adjustments are you making? What adjustments do you still need to make? If it's going very, very well, maybe you want to revise those targets upward because you want to keep challenging yourself. Don't become comfortable with the success that you're having, especially now, especially while you're still in this course and for the weeks and months following your completion of the course. So if you're behind on the numbers, figure out what's wrong and fix it. If you're ahead of the numbers, then increase your goal. If you're on the numbers, I would suggest increasing the goal as well, especially again now, because you're here for a reason. You want to become better. So don't get comfortable with your acquisition or your attainment of your current target. Always increase it. What are you learning about yourself through all of this? Because as I've said over and over and over, Prospecting is not just about doing, it's about being. The doing is going out there and delivering on the learning, but who are you and how are you showing up in front of the potential clients? You did a lot of work on yourself in this respect during the first 21 modules, but what are you learning from it now? Always try to get that objective perspective of yourself. The way I see myself in a meeting, in a prospecting session, in a coaching session, whenever I'm sitting with clients or potential clients, and honestly, in many or most aspects of my life now, is I see myself objectively. I'm very conscious and aware of how I am and who I'm being in the moment. Not to a point that it distracts me, just to the point that I am aware enough to make adjustments, to improve that relationship, to improve the chemistry between me and another human being, to improve the engagement that I have with that other human being or those other human beings. And that's the point that I want you to get to, so that when you are prospecting, you are so aware and so conscious of yourself in the moment that you can adjust to show up in the best possible way. Move from the narrative that you came into this course with to the narrative that you created that you want to live into. And that may change as you go on and continue this journey. Your new narrative may acquire a new narrative. Your new narrative, as described and created in this course, may become your current narrative once you are living into it. And then you will create a new narrative. What are you great at? You've done a lot of work so far. What are you great at? What are you amazing at? What are your powers in this respect? You should be discovering more about yourself. And the greatness that you discover about yourself on this journey, you should be latching onto and using to the best of your ability, because it will serve you as a prospector, as a financial advisor, and as a business owner. At the same time, what do you suck at? What are you terrible at? What are you not good at, if anything? There's always something where you could improve. So I use those words to kind of penetrate the consciousness, but I really want to know whether you have seen those areas in which you could improve. Just by seeing them, being aware, being conscious, you will probably, as a result, experience an improvement in those areas, because seeing will lead to change. You don't necessarily always have to do an enormous amount of work. Just seeing will result in change. That change could be slow. You could speed it up by actually doing some work. But the point of it right now is just to be conscious and aware of what you're great at and where you could improve. The affirmations that you created for yourself will continue to pull you toward your goals, whatever those goals are, personal, professional, your way of being. So continue those affirmations. Continue them this week, continue them next week. And I would suggest continuing them for as long as you can while they serve you following your completion of this course. When you are ready and you know when that will be, you can drop or revise and or create new affirmations that serve you. But continue to do that, because affirmations program your subconscious, and they will lead you to be who you need to be so that you can do what you need to do. In week 5, you should totally be in action. I've already mentioned the activity and the ratio between approaches and your first meetings, but I want you to understand the mindset that you should be in now. I've spoken so much about activity and the ratio and the formula and even to be in action. But at this point, 83% through the 6-week support period, you should fully understand through your own personal experience and how you feel in this moment and at this point in your learning, what it is like to be in action. If you never understood it, or you understood it in theory, but weren't experiencing it to the point that you felt it, you should be feeling it now. And if you're not, the only reason that you're not is because you haven't stuck to the program. You've left something out, you've skipped something, you've moved too quickly through something. If this is where you are, if you're not feeling what it's like to be in action, pause. Even if you have to delay this week by a week, Do what you need to and go back to the learnings, go back to all of the 21 modules and find what it is you're missing. It could be an understanding of something in one particular module. It could be some work that you needed to do in one or more modules, and you either rushed through it, or you didn't do it at all, or you didn't understand it, or you didn't do it properly, whatever it might be. If you made your way through all of the 21 modules and you did the required work and you stuck to the 6-week support period to the letter, you will experience being in action. So if you're not experiencing being in action, go back to the learning and the practice that got you to this point. Even if you have to delay this by 3 or 4 weeks, it doesn't matter. It will not serve you to continue what you're doing in this week, unless you've got an event planned and you need to deliver it, fair enough. But everything else, and go into next week if you're missing something. So take the time to figure it out. The time it takes, the effort it takes, the emotion of pausing and going back. Don't worry about it. It's all worth it. Are you getting in your own way? Have you caught yourself getting in your own way? If you have, are you being zero tolerant of your own excuses, of your own laziness? Often, and I repeat, demonstrated by your hiding behind your desk, your laptop, administration, too afraid to do what you need to do because prospecting does require you to be vulnerable and go out there and risk being rejected. You've got the excuse buster. That's the work you do with yourself. You've got a list of responses to rejections from clients. That's what I've given you, and I invited you to add on to that. Bust your excuses. You may have excuses that I didn't think of. Catch yourself getting in your own way and bust your reasons why not. Because I could buy into your story. I could sympathize and empathize with you. I could hear all the reasons why you can't. Doesn't matter. None of them make a difference. Because if you let your reasons why not standing in your way, you are going to be stuck here, wherever you are right now, prospecting like you've always prospected, or not prospecting at all. So your way of being around these excuses and how you get in your own way and the stories that you tell yourself to stop yourself from doing what you need to do, need to disappear. I've given you a way to do this. I've provided you with some collateral to do this. But it needs to become so much more than just that. It needs to become the fiber of your being so that it just ends. You catch yourself coming up with a reason why not, poof, it goes away. It just disappears. It gets destroyed and uncreated in the moment. Your current narrative is already your old narrative. And your new narrative should be closer to the person that you're being. Our objective with these narratives, I know I spoke about them a few minutes ago, but just to come back to this momentarily, the objective with the new narratives, or with the narratives, is to take you from the prospecting version of yourself that you entered into this course with to the prospecting version of yourself that you want to be. And all of the work that you've done on yourself and with regard the actions you need to take will have moved you somewhat. That's why I say that your current narrative is now your old narrative, because you may not be living into your new narrative yet to its entirety, but your old narrative has definitely been left behind to a large extent. You'd figuratively look over your shoulder and see, even this number of weeks down the line, that that's the person that you used to be. And if you look ahead, the person that you want to be in terms of the prospector, you are so much closer to if you're not there already. It's incredible how often you wonder how far you've come, and it feels like you have so much further to go. But all you have to do is look back and see how far you've come to realize how successful you've been. And that in itself can be a huge sense of motivation to keep going forward. Those 10 clients that I challenged you to write the names down of and get the first meetings with and do everything that you can to bring on as clients, you should be closing them this week. The objective here is to get the first meeting, that's prospecting. So at the very least, you should have acquired those first meetings, and you should be having those first meetings if you haven't had them already this week and into next week. But in terms of prospecting, I want you to be totally focused and fixated on closing those 10 names. Plus, let's not forget the 5 names of the prospects that you gave up on a long time ago. I challenged you to go back, choose 5 names and go back to them and pick up from where you left off. You should be closing them this week as well, whatever that means for you, whether it's sitting in front of them and having picked up that conversation from where it left off, and or doing business with those individuals. That's where you should be this week, in week 5. We have one more week. Next week is going to be the close of our time together. A lot of what we are doing and have been doing will come to a point where we'll round it up, we'll wrap it up, and we will close off. But it's certainly not the close to your prospecting journey and your building of your business. And as much as we're closing off, or will be closing off the course, I will be talking about that in some detail, where I remind you that you'll be opening up your way of being and your being in action for as long as you need to, for as long as you require prospecting in whatever way, manner, shape, or form, and as long as you're building your business. And that business that you build now could change to a business that you continue to build, or change the structure or process or philosophy of as time goes on. So this is not closing in on the end. This is moving closer to the end of our time together, but it's moving closer as well, and at the same time, to your flying solo. And I will show you how you can support yourself while opting for ways in which I can support you indirectly, directly, and otherwise. But we'll talk about that next week. The bridge from this course to your continued implementation and attachment to everything you've learned over this time will be the Facebook group. At least that will be your direct attachment, because everything flows from this into the Facebook group. It continues in so many ways. So continue with the group, and everyone else that takes this course will be receiving the same message. They'll be watching the same video, and they'll be encouraged and urged in exactly the same way that you are right now to build the bridge from this into the Facebook group and to continue the interaction and to be supported and to support others in exactly the same position as you. So good luck for this week. Deliver that event, have fun doing it, stay in action, revise everything you're doing, be objective, have that feeling that you're conscious and aware of who you are and how you're showing up, and take it into the next week. I will see you in a week.